Oh, yes, I'm the great pretender. Boom, boom, boom. Pretending that I'm doing well. Do, do, do. What's next? My need is such, I pretend too much. I'm lonely, but no one can tell. Oh, yes, I'm the great pretender. Boom, boom, boom. Adrift in a world of my own. I play the game, but to my real shame, you've left me to grieve all alone. I dedicate that song to the 2023 49ers. Grant Cohn sent it out to the 2023 49ers, the biggest pretenders in the NFL. We thought they were Super Bowl favorites, Super Bowl contenders. They're just pretenders, the great pretenders, adrift in a world of their own. They think they're the best team in the league, and they still haven't figured out that they ain't. Maybe I think they know now. I think the 49ers, you look at them after the game, they know. This is not a confident team. This is a team that thought the loss to the Browns was a one-off. Then they thought the loss of the Vikings was really just a two-off, and now they have to look in the mirror for 14 days and say, we're not good. We lost to 3 mediocre teams. We're fake. They're not even first place in their division. They don't even get a Fernando. They get the great pretender. I don't know what happened to this team. They gave Kyle Shanahan an extension after week 3. They celebrated after week 5. They crowned themselves in September. And now it's not even November, and they're in shambles. Their entire season is in shambles. A month ago, we were looking at this team like, man, there's the perfect team. They have no weaknesses. But you know what? There is no perfect team. And that was the tip-off right there. When they looked so in control of their season, you knew something was bubbling under the surface because no team is in control of their season. No team is perfect. All of a sudden, 3 weeks later, it's like, what does this team do well? They don't have the quarterback. They don't have the defensive coordinator. They don't have the defense. They don't have the depth on offense. They may not have the head coach. Other than that, great team. Not even as good as the Seattle Seahawks. And I would just want to say, I picked the Seahawks to win this division. I was not sold on this team. I was not sold on Brock Purdy. A lot of people took victory laps after week 1, week 2, definitely after week 5. Is this team going undefeated? Is Brock Purdy the next Joe Montana? Man, he may not even be better than Sam Darnold. We'll talk about that in a bit. But like after the game, George Kittle was talking. And it's the same thing that these players always say when they lose. He said, it'll be good for the Niners to lose this game because going into a bye week, they'll really stew on it. It'll really piss them off. Man, the Vikings loss didn't piss you off? You weren't stewing on the last 2. You needed a third loss to get your head right. I don't buy it. You know what's wrong with the Niners? They're not that good. They're pretenders. It's not that they're not focused, that their mindset isn't right, that they need to humble themselves, that they need to stew on losses. It's that they're not as good as we thought they were. Period. They're not as good as the Bengals. They're not as good as the Vikings. They're not as good as the Browns, who lost to the Seahawks, who are better than the Niners. That's what we learned. Now, the Niners are 5-3. Last year they were 3-5. But they can't trade for Christian McCaffrey again. Yes, Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams will come back eventually, but what about the defense? How bad is the defense? And what's going on with Brock Purdy? Does he need 5 All-Pros around him on offense to be respectable? Or is the book out on him? Is he now becoming a turnover machine? He's been a turnover machine the last 2 games, and he's gotten his head knocked around, and he's little. Fred Warner spoke after the game. He speaks for the team, and someone asked him about Brock Purdy. Are you losing confidence in Brock Purdy? And he said, what do you want me to say? Then he said, Brock Purdy is the least of our problems. Okay. File that away. Few minutes later, someone asked Fred Warner, well, how you feel about Steve Wilks? He says, Steve Wilks is the least of our problems. Okay, so when Fred Warner says so-and-so or such and such is the least of our problems, that's his way of saying so-and-so or such and such is the source of our problems. That's how he says it. He like speaks backwards. It's like opposite day. So yeah, I think the Niners locker room is starting to lose confidence, not only in themselves, but their coaching staff and their quarterback. Other than that, team's tight-knit. KOSZG says this team is so undisciplined, bad tackling, missing catches, interceptions, poor coaching. Yeah, but it's a good thing they extended his contract. You want stability, not urgency. George Larmy says, hey, this team, they fall in love with the quarterbacks too fast, and they made a big mistake. They should have had a quarterback competition, a legit quarterback competition. They never gave the kid a chance. Yeah, it should have been like The Bachelor. 3 quarterbacks and see which one has the best personality. You know what I mean? Who and then by the end, you just give the guy a rose. I think they should have done a reality show called 49ers Quarterbacks, The Bachelor, 49ers edition. I think it would have been fun. Gregory, although Jimmy Garoppolo would have won. Gregory Young says maybe more time running the hill with Jerry Rice instead of Cabo. Defense has been atrocious the last 3 weeks. What the heck? Ivan Tina says, turns out we beat up on pretenders. Turns out we don't have a genius and just traded for a good running back. There's a lot to that. David Trinidad says the Niners lost, but fans can still marvel at Purdy's beautiful spirals, even when the pass is incomplete or intercepted. Do you agree? I think his spirals were phenomenal in this game. Give him credit. Moises Rosales says Philly would look the same if they were missing Lane or Kelsey on the O-line and one of their top receivers. I'm 100% calling Niners get back to scoring 30-plus when they're back. I'll check in a month. Okay, Moises, you check in. King Gio says idiots will still blame Kyle when Brock has 5 turnovers in 2 games. At least give him a top 5 quarterback before you guys slander his name, bruh. Give him a quarterback? What is he, the offensive coordinator of this team? Does he not run this entire team? Did he not hire the general manager himself? Give him a quarterback? Man, he's been the coach of this team. He got hired like a month after my dad retired. I was 29 when he got hired. It's on him to find the quarterback. He said that Brock Purdy was the real deal. He believed in Brock. Don't tell me that he's not now. I mean, I knew that he wasn't, but you don't get to say that, King. I love you, King Gio. I'm sorry, I'm worked up. MCDD says, Mahomes played worse than Purdy today and got destroyed by the worst team in the league. We are overreacting. I'm sorry. Has Patrick Mahomes not won a couple Super Bowls? Did he not do that? A couple, 2, 3? Can we stop comparing Brock Purdy to quarterbacks who were really, really good? Because he's not. KOSZG says defenses know we only throw to the middle of the field. Yeah, it's true. Ray Histo says need to abandon the wide 9, not getting pressure, constantly giving up wide open run lanes for running back and the quarterback. The secondary is playing too soft all game. Yeah, pretty much. Night Tide says people hate on you for the takes you put out there, but they almost always end up being right. Do you think they can turn it around this year? Yeah, I mean, they're going to win more games, but I don't think they're going to go to the Super Bowl or win it. I don't. Brock was still in concussion protocol. He cleared it, says King Dodongo. All right, before we get to Brock, can we talk trades? The trade deadline is Tuesday. The Niners need to trade for a cornerback. Their secondary is atrocious. On that field today, allegedly, the Niners secondary was out there. Yet somehow Joe Burrow completed 28 of 32 passes. That's 88%. That's hard to do in a walkthrough. You figure you might miss a couple throws. He missed 4 throws against a real defense. That's a problem. So if the Niners really think they're contenders, which they're not, if they really think they're contenders, if they still actually believe Brock Purdy's the real deal, which I don't think they do, then they need to trade for a corner now. Right now. And if they're serious about their contendership, then they'll trade for Patrick Surtain II in Denver. They'll give up 2 first-round picks, whatever they got to do. But they won't because they need those first-round picks for, I mean, Trent Williams could retire. They need a right tackle. They're not going to trade for Patrick Surtain, although that's the move. They could also trade for Jalen Johnson. They're going to trade. They better freaking trade for a corner because if they don't trade for a corner after what happened today in the last 3 weeks, that to me indicates that they don't think they're contenders. They're like, well, what's the point? Is Patrick Surtain really going to put us over the top, or do we have a major problem at defensive coordinator and quarterback? Like a good corner definitely would improve the team, but Steve Wilkes is still here. You still can't stop the run. That wide 9 isn't working, and the quarterback turns the ball over 2-3 times a game. Other than that, yeah, get a corner. My guess is they're going to trade for a corner. My guess is they still think they're really good. My guess is they think that these 3 losses were good for them, and they're going to come out of the bye week really focused. Really serious. No, they're not playing around anymore. Yeah, they just lost 3 games in a row because, now they're serious, though. So, yeah, trade for a cornerback, man. Make it because you can see what Steve Wilks thinks of his corners. He doesn't trust him. Charvarius Ward, what do you do with him? What do you do with Charvarius Ward? He's not good. If you play him in press man coverage, he's going to commit a defensive holding penalty. He has 8 flags through 8 games. In man coverage, he's a penalty waiting to happen. In zone, he's a bystander. He's a bystander. He's a bird watcher. He's watching. I don't know what happened to this guy, but he ain't good. And Diamador Lenore isn't much better. And Isaiah Oliver's terrible. Sorry. They need another corner. And if they don't trade for him, if they don't make a move at the deadline, that makes me wonder how seriously they take themselves. Maybe they know maybe Kyle Shanahan knows right now they're pretenders. Because when they think they're good, they were 3-4 last year and they traded for Christian McCaffrey. They were undefeated and they traded for Emmanuel Sanders. If they think they're good, they make a move. So make a move. Make a move, trade for a corner. If they don't, the season is over. Their corners aren't good enough. Charvarius Ward, my goodness. What happened to him? You know what happened to him? You know what? The Niners never should have signed Charvarius Ward. It was the same thing as D Ford. You took the Chiefs' leftovers. They're a great organization, better than you, because they've won Super Bowls and you haven't. They have a proof of concept on whatever they're doing, and you don't. So when they give up on a player, D Ford, Charvarius Ward, you don't swoop in and say the Chiefs don't know what they're doing. Let me get up. Don't do that, because they do know what they're doing. They know that player better than you. And if they decide that guy isn't worth paying, then he's not worth paying. And you shouldn't have paid Charvarius Ward. But you're stuck with him now. And would you extend his contract? Daquan Houston said, is that Shanny record just regular season went down by 8 in the fourth? I have sworn he was down 10-3 in the Packers in the playoffs and came back to win. It might just be the regular season. It's 8. It's supposed to be 8 points. I think it's all of it. Khalil Kemp. The arrogance of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch to think they could just replace Jimmy Ward and Emmanuel Mosley with Deshaun Gibson and Isaiah Oliver. The arrogance. The arrogance. Neil says, IDGAF anymore should have kept Trey and got Fangio. I never gave a F. Red and Gold Rainwater says, say what you want about Purdy, but we won't win again until Wilks is gone. Hey, man, Purdy was the GOAT today. Goth Sorrows, $5. Thank you. Nathan Flores, Purdy G looked like he got a concussion. This team needs a major overhaul. This is 3 embarrassing losses. Where's the defense? Wilks' defense is atrocious. They need another edge, cornerback, total team loss. Shaking my head. Sirs 11. Trade Bosa and Eric for Jonathan Allen and Montez Sweat, Ward, and a pick for Surtain. Find a way to get Brian Burns. John Lynch, are you watching? John Lynch, can you hear us? Sertero says, I bet Wilks is going to stay as DC2. LOL. Probably. Glass half full guy says, trade for DJ Jobs and Sweat. DJ Jones, in my honest opinion. John Mitchell, a member for 21 months. Thank you. KOSEG says, Oliver is trash. King Geo says, if we get a corner, who do we replace? Because Ward sucks. Who goes opposite side of Bosa when he's been trash? F the numbers. Still love you, though, Grant. That's a good question, man. They got to replace Charvarius Ward and his penalties. Joey Mellons. Make that money, Grant. Great voice. Defenses can't stop the run, the pass, can't tackle. Purdy throwing picks. What happened since Dallas? I don't know. Ivan Tina says, can't trade for a cornerback. Got to spend that first on a D-line. Ha! Nathan Flores says, we need another corner because Mooney Ward is not cutting it. He's not Mooney. He's Charvarius because he's burnt toast or a human flag. Yeah, no nicknames when you're getting burnt. Geo Dude says, the season was lost in the offseason due to the arrogance of believing they didn't need to invest in their offensive line and secondary. Their roster building philosophy is backwards. Top heavy doesn't work. And what annoys me about the Niners, is that they don't question their roster building philosophy. The word is proof of concept. They don't have it. They haven't won a Super Bowl, but they act like they have. They act like this is what we do. It's been working for us. And no, it hasn't. You have to do something different to get over the hump. Ken Bone, it's been a minute. I miss Jimmy Ward. Me too. Fish and chips. Bengals flung us around like Hulk did to Loki. 29er says Jimmy's back. They got those wins out the way early. Dale says, told you about the D 2 weeks ago, and you said, well, Hargrave makes him better. Now what? I was wrong. You were right, Dale. KOSEG says Greenlaw didn't look like himself today. I think he's injured. Malik Payton says felt like BA and Kittle are the only ones that showed up today. They're the only guys who can get open. I mean, the Bengals played a lot of man coverage. 2 guys in the Niners could get open, and Purdy scrambled. That was the game. Jeff Caravella says, who can get through to Kyle? Me. Does he have someone he views as intellectual equal? Me. His from behind play is mental yip. Something wacky happens up there. I'm doing the best I can, man. Quality control. He values it. The Niners need to bench Brock Purdy during the bye week. Like, they got to stop being in denial. This is who Brock Purdy is. He had a great run, but the NFL always exposes who you really are. And the real Brock Purdy just stood up. That's him. He showed it in college. He showed it in training camp. He turns the ball over a lot. And the fact that he didn't turn it over the first 5 games, no picks, was incredible. And I couldn't believe it because he turned it over like 20 times in training camp. And I felt like it was going to happen again because things even out. If you're a turnover machine in practice, there's a 99% chance that you're eventually going to out yourself as a turnover machine in games. And that's what he's doing. 6 turnovers. 6 in the last 3 games. Goodbye, you're done. You can't be a guy who turns the ball over multiple times a game. Because you know what happens if you're that guy? You lose. 3 weeks ago, people said, man, this guy might be the next Joe Montana. By a bunch of people who never saw Joe Montana play. I never saw Joe Montana play. I saw him on the Chiefs. But I'm pretty sure what made Joe was the comebacks. This guy can't come back. He has 1 comeback in his entire career. He rides the coattail of his team. You take away 1 or 2 all-pros, and it's like, what do you got left? A turnover machine. And you saw it early in the game. He threw that pass over the middle in the second quarter that almost got intercepted by Logan Wilson. You're like, okay, that's a Jimmy pass. Then he threw that pick to the linebacker right in front of him, scrambling to the right. That was incredible. Then he did throw the pick to Logan Wilson. Then he fumbled. Then he threw another pick that was negated because of a roughing the passer penalty. Like, you can't play like that. There are like 7 quarterbacks in the NFL who are allowed to have a game like that. And Brock Purdy isn't one of them. You don't have Pro Bowls. You don't have multiple seasons of success. You don't have a Super Bowl ring. You don't have an NFC Championship win. You are a game manager. You're playing because you protect the football and make some plays here and there with your legs. You're not playing to carry the team. And when you are asked to carry the team, what happens? You lose the game. You lose it. So, yeah, I think we learned about Brock Purdy. He was a product of the system. He was a product of the team. And when you took a little bit of that supporting cast away, boom. He is a younger, more mobile Jimmy Garoppolo because when the ball leaves his hands, it is just as likely to end up in a linebacker's hands as it is with Jimmy Garoppolo. That's disconcerting. You traded away Trey Lance. You call this guy the real deal. If Brock Purdy doesn't work out and Sam Darnold isn't better, how can you have confidence in the man who called Brock Purdy the real deal? Does he look like the real deal to you? Maybe he shouldn't have been playing this game. Maybe it was all about the concussion, but you know what? He wasn't good before the concussion the last 2 weeks. I think the league has caught up to him. I think we all knew he was fairly limited. He was fresh on the scene. But once teams got a good look at him, there's not that much he can do. Good scrambler. Doesn't really have much of an arm. And now his arm is getting scouted. And his arm is a liability. He'll make some nice plays. He can make some good throws on the run. But if you're a 2-3 turnover a game guy, you got to go. You got to go. Brock Purdy isn't good enough to be losing games weekly saying, I tried. I was trying to be the hero. Nah. Bring in Sam Darnold and see if he can not turn the ball over. That's what the job is of the quarterback on the 49ers. Don't turn the ball over, man. You turned it over in the red zone. That took 7 points off the board, or at least 3. Then you had another turnover that directly led to a touchdown for the Bengals 1 play later. So it's like, that's like 14 points right there. Can't have it. People are real sentimental with the Brock Purdy experience. I don't know why. Maybe because it looks like their little brother. But the Niners were real ruthless with Jimmy Garoppolo, real ruthless with Trey Lance. It's time to be ruthless with Brock. How many more games are you going to lose because you think he's going to pull out of it? Hasn't happened yet. Got to bench him. Can't afford to drop a fourth game in a row because he's committing 2 turnovers a game. Sorry. Maybe if he spends a month on the bench, he'll get it together. He's doing way too much. Trying to. Irfan says, I remember when some fans didn't want to trade Bosa for Lamar. Oh, I remember that too. Dave Barclay says, Grant, WTF, we look like a shell of the Cowboys game. Like, that was it? Who can we get to lift everyone? We look like crap. Kyle sucks. Can't change plans. CMC all the way. F off. So many weapons here. They got to get a corner. Their secondary, it's atrocious. Lyson 4647 says the defense, in my opinion, is the biggest issue. Saleh and Ryans had the same players, and the defense never looked like this. Yeah. What about the quarterback who turned the ball over 3 times today? How do you win a game when the quarterback turns it over 3 times? How do you do that? Hard. I got to put it on Brock. T&K Hunting Gear says Romo was literally pointing out Wilk's flaws within the plays he was calling. It was embarrassing. He's in way above his head and is lost. Agree. Dave Barclay says, how? 638 votes and 200 likes? Come on, guys. Yeah, let me get some of them likes. Get some likes. Andrew Fox Miller says, wins equal revenue on YouTube for us. I just wanted to share the gains. Cincinnati Bengals talk on YouTube. Hey, shout out Fox Miller, man. Andrew Fox Miller. Go check out his Bengals YouTube channel. Geo Dude says, what's the O-line ranking without Trent Williams? Not good, Geo Dude. Not good. Dale says, Grant, you're nuts on Purdy evaluation. Any quarterback that feels like they have to be the Superman cause D can't stop paper is going to do that. Okay. Andrew Bowe says, what do you get if you turn the ball over multiple times a game? Signed by Niners in offseason so they can ditch Trey since you are the next. Steve Young. Dave Barclay says, Trey is still better and not here. You are not that guy, pal. Says, what does benching Purdy do? Darnold is worse. How could he be worse? Turnovers are kind of a problem. Kind of. I know that's hard to say. KOSEG says, Kyle Shanahan is incapable of getting a good quarterback. If the front office had any sense, they'd get him an OC and someone to get a quarterback for this team. Nathan Flores says, I remember quarterback QC said Purdy G was an interception machine in training camp, but the Niner fans were like, nah, we'll be all right. How's that looking? Quality control. Yeah, tried to tell them. They didn't want to hear it. Wave 9 says, I feel vindicated about Brock. We deserve this. Kind of. Ivan Tina says, those fans will tell you 97 is the best ever, then ask for another edge rusher to help him. What the hell happened to Nick Bosa? Wave 9 says, what about the window Brock can't afford to lose? What window? Shreddy Murphy. Cousins tore ACL today, stuck with Steve Young, LOL. Was it his Achilles? Thanks for the pick, Grant. Hey, Zach. Zach was over here waiting for me. I like that. Fat Fish and Chip says QB common denominator equals Shanahan. It's true. All I know is that Purdy had 1 bad game and is snowballed into 3. Did it not? He had 1 bad game against Cleveland, and he's been worse every game since. That's the mark of a good head coach. Because we know Kyle Shanahan is relentlessly positive. So I'm sure Brock Purdy had that bad game against the Browns, and Kyle was like, put his arm around him. Hey, Brock, man, it's me and you, buddy. We're a team. We're a unit. Me and you, I believe in you, man. You are so good. That's what Kyle did, right? And that's why Brock's play has gotten steadily worse. It's not like Kyle Shanahan chewed him out after the first loss of his career and freaked. That's not what Kyle would do. Why would Kyle do? It's not his character to be overly negative after 1 mistake. It's not what Kyle would ever do. He's not the kind of guy who would help a young player compound his problems. No, Kyle's relentlessly positive like Mike McDaniel. I would have replaced Brock after the second pick. I would have replaced Brock after the second loss. Darnold should have started this game. And not just because Brock had a concussion 6 days ago. Michael McCann says no one enjoyed this game more than Trey Lance. It's Measy says he's the 3rd string quarterback. He needs to worry about himself. It's Measy says could have swore that was Jimmy G playing the past 2 games. Yep. Abu Marco 23 says we are currently the 6th seed. Lucky the 7th is Minnesota. They just lost Cousins. If we make the playoffs, it's just because the conference is trash. I mean, that's so true. The young Montana been a member for 26 months. That's a long time. Ethan M says thoughts on what Fred said about Brock. He said he's the least of their problems, right? And then he said that Steve Wilkes is the least of their problems. So I felt like that's a bad thing to say. It probably means he's the most of their problems. Can Niners retrade for Lance? They won't, says Sammy Mack. Gregory Young. Trade Kyle and Wilkes. The consequences of banana hands is coming back around. You don't want to fall. You don't want to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. And the Niners have with Kyle Shanahan. Geodude says, what happened to Bosa? He got paid. Now he's modeling with the Kardashians. He doesn't need to get sacks anymore. Man, this happened last year, though. Maybe he knew he was going to get paid, but this has been going on since before he got paid. Can't get right. Says, I wonder what Larry will say about everyone but Brock Purdy. Shout out Larry. Larry's doing his thing. Okay. The Niners need to fire Steve Wilkes. I'm sorry. It's not even his fault. It's Kyle Shanahan's fault for hiring him. You want to run the wide 9 defense? Something that's kind of a gimmicky defense to begin with. Not that many teams do it. You want to run it for whatever reason because you can't beat it when you face Jim Schwartz. You want to run it because you can't beat it. And you hire someone who's never, ever, ever coached the wide 9. That's genius. That is so smart, clever. And now we're like, wow, Steve Wilkes, he's terrible. He doesn't know what he's doing. No, he doesn't know what he's doing because he's running someone else's defense. He's trying to reverse engineer someone else's defense. Like, if we're being real frank, the number one expert on the wide 9 defense in the Niners organization isn't Steve Wilkes. It's the D-line coach, Chris Kasarik, and then it's Kyle Shanahan. Those two guys know way more about the wide 9 than the guy calling the plays on the defense. That's a huge problem. So, yeah, what is Wilkes adding to this? He's the new guy who doesn't know the system. He's not helping things. He's hurting things. He has to go. It's not his fault. He never should have been hired for this job. If you hire a guy, you got to let him do his thing. Steve, we trust you. We like you. You come here and trust your instincts and do whatever you've been doing. No, the Niners didn't do that. They wouldn't even do that for Vic Fangio. He wanted to come here and be the coach. The Niners were like, can you run the wide 9? He's like, no, why would I do that? I run what I run. They're like, yeah, sorry, you got to go. So the Niners were so married to their wide 9. This is what they got. No coordinator. And Fred Warner after the game said, coordinators don't matter. Players win games. Okay, then win them, man. I say coordinators matter. I think Steve Wilkes has to go. And I think the reason they can fire him is because they don't have to replace him they don't have to bring in another outsider. That was the mistake to begin with. Promote someone from within the freaking organization like you did with D'Amico, someone who actually coached under D'Amico, who actually knows what was working last year when the team had the number 1 defense in the league, because Steve wasn't here for that. He's trying his best to figure it out, but probably he's going to lean on what he's done for 17 years as a coordinator, as a coach. I don't know who the Niners could replace him. Kasarik, Johnny Holland, someone. Johnny Holland. How about Johnny Holland, the linebacker coach? Saleh was a linebacker coach. D'Amico was a linebacker coach. How about Johnny Holland? Promote him. How could he be worse? I mean, Steve Wilkes, I don't know. Okay, forget the wide 9. The coverages in the first half. He plays 2 deep safeties off zone coverage. So cover 2, cover 4. Bengals pick up 20 first downs. And I believe Joe Burrow completes 19 passes in a row. And the Bengals run the ball at will. Like, what? Why would you call that? It's such a conservative way to play. It's like saying, man, my players stink. I got to just play, not quite prevent defense. Not quite prevent defense. That's what I'm going to play because my players stink. Your players are really good. You don't just give up 19 consecutive throws because you're used to coaching weak players. So, okay, just an atrocious first half playing the most conservative style of coverage you could do. Second half makes an adjustment. Aggressive. Press man coverage across the board. Single high safety. 8 in the box. That's a little better, but it still doesn't work. I mean, if it wasn't for Eric Armstead single-handedly beating that right guard a couple times, what would this defense be? They got to fire Steve Wilkes. They never should have hired Steve Wilkes. What they should have done was abandon the wide 9 and hire Vic Fangio like Mike McDaniel did. You know why Mike McDaniel did that? Because he's smart. You know why Kyle Shanahan didn't do that and instead hired Steve Wilkes to run a defense he doesn't know? Because Kyle thinks he's clever. That was a little too clever, Kyle. You got to fire him. Shout out to the coach for giving that clever, smart distinction. If you're out there, man. He used to give $20 donations in postgame. He was the star of the postgame stream. Now he's got his own YouTube channel. That's the progression, baby. Fish and Chip says Mason outrushed CMC, benched. Gotta love Lil Shanny. Oh, yeah. Steven Saltero, $5. Thank you. Michael McCann, $5. Like Bosa, Shanahan, and Lynch both mailed it in. Once they got the bag, this team is stale and needs drastic changes. We're one loss away from being sellers. Well, the deadline will happen before then. Nathan Flores says this team, bad play, won't make the playoffs. Sad. I hope they do, man. I really want the Niners to make the playoffs because I want to cover a playoff team. Karma, we miss you, Trey. Really real. Miwok Sniper says, hey, Waterboy, you're fired. Sucker Free says, looking at the remaining Niners schedule, there is a chance the Niners can miss the playoffs and the Yorks must clean house. Wow, that would be dramatic. I'm rooting for them to make the playoffs. Januaries are good months for me. Shady Luke says, the crazy part is you watch all other quarterbacks at the lines. They're making changes off the defense. You watch Brock at the line, nothing. All Shanny. Gold Dirty something or other says 17 points 3 weeks in a row and multiple chances to win or tie multiple times. And people are trying to blame the defense. Thank you. Thank you. Ivan Tina saw a quarterback on the Niners sideline with the last name Allen and got happy for a second. But even if he would be a third stringer after the second coming of Joe and Steve, who cares? I love it. D Pacheco 82 says we are sellers on trade deadline. Oof. Rome Gut Level says Niners owe me refund for season tickets. False advertising. Bro, my 8-year-old daughter can coach better than Stinky Wilkes. Kyle, ego out of control. Noelia says, do you think they'll win after the bye? I don't. No, I don't. Clayton says, yeah, I'll have the tenders with the side of pre. I don't get it. Okay. So we just lambasted everyone on the team from Steve Wilkes to Brock Purdy. When is Kyle Shanahan going to get called out for getting out-coached 3 weeks in a row? He got out-coached today by Zach Taylor. He got out-coached last week by, what is dude's name? Freaking Stefanski, coaches Kevin O'Connell, and the week before that, Kevin Stefanski. Zach Taylor, Kevin O'Connell, Kevin Stefanski, all out coach Kyle Shanahan 3 weeks in a row. That's terrible. So you lose Trent Williams, you lose Deebo Samuel. All of a sudden, you can't score more than 17 points. Wow, what a genius. You fall behind 8 points in the fourth quarter, and you're 0-37. Man, you are cutting edge. You are doing laps around the rest of the league. So it's like Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, leaves a lot to get desired. Once you take 1 or 2 all-pros away, once he doesn't have 5 all-pros on offense, man, he's just stuck at 17 points. Once he falls down by 8 points, there's no coming back. No coming back. And then that's him as the offensive coordinator. Let's talk him as a head coach. I think he gets too much credit for being an offensive coordinator. Chris Forster draws up the run game. Him and Bobby Turner. One of them Kubiak kids draws up the passing game. Kyle just calls the plays. It's like he lets everyone else do the homework for him, and then he comes in and calls plays. He gets too much credit for the OC stuff. Give that credit to Forster and Kubiak. Kyle's the head coach. So he makes decisions, big decisions. What was his decision today? Play Brock Purdy. Okay. All right. 6 days after a concussion. And when he had the concussion last week, he was playing well. Then he got concussed. Niners didn't say anything, left him in the game. Oh, didn't know. And then he threw 2 picks. That's what happened. They can say, what he didn't have concussion symptoms until later, whatever. He got hit in the head, and then he threw 2 picks. You know that. You can lie to yourself, but that's the timeline. Hit in the head, threw 2 picks. Were they related? I don't know. So you play him in this game. And what happens? 2 picks, plus another one that was negated, plus another one that was dropped, and a fumble. 3 turnovers, could have been 5. 6 days after a concussion. Man, shouldn't have played him. He wasn't ready. He didn't practice. He's not freaking Patrick Mahomes. Shouldn't have played. And then, at the end, he bounced the back of his head off the grass real hard. He got sacked, and he had whiplash. Boom! Scary, man. Thank goodness that's grass and not field turf with the concrete underneath it. And thank goodness they have the week off because I don't know, man. That hit looked vicious. He said he's fine, but it was a lot worse than the one he took the week before that ended up it landed him in the concussion protocol. I'm concerned about Brock Purdy. He shouldn't have played in this game. I understand why he wanted to. Every quarterback's going to want to play. RG3 wanted to play through a knee injury. Kyle Shanahan and his dad were like, cool, go ahead. Mangled it. Never was the same. Man, Kyle, would you protect your quarterback once? Once. No quarterback, no football player should be in a football game 6 days after a concussion. Because you know what could happen on the second one. I hope Brock's okay, man. He spoke at the post-game press conference. He looked all right. That's scary stuff, dude. Kyle, playing Brock was desperate. We have to win this game. We got to play a quarterback 6 days off a concussion. You lost anyway. He was the reason you lost. Do you understand how deflating that is to your team? You could have been like, hey, man, we're not playing Brock. He's too good. He's too important. He just had a concussion. He's our future. Sitting him for a game, playing Darnold. If you lose, you could be like, it was our backup quarterback. Brock's coming back. But no, you didn't do that. You played Brock. He was awful. You hurt your own team's confidence. You hurt your own confidence. So what are you going to do, Kyle? You going to bench him? Here's what I think you're going to do. I think you want to bench Brock Purdy, but I don't think you will. I think you would love to bench. I think you're the kind of guy who talks a big game privately. Probably, chews people out, yells, says you're going to do stuff, but then you don't. That's my guess. My guess is you've been chewing out Brock Purdy weekly. My guess is you're not giving Brock a whole lot of grace. I'm guessing. Just based on 7 years of covering you, man. You lost patience with Jimmy Garoppolo immediately. So why wouldn't you lose patience with Brock? Okay. Have you even threatened that you might play Sam Darnold? Maybe. I don't know. But will you? I don't think you will, man. I don't think you're built like that. I think you're hyper aware of what people think of you, and you don't want people to think you're making bad decisions. So while you might want to go to Sam, if you do it, people are going to look at you crazy because no one likes Sam Darnold like you do. So I dare you, Kyle. I freaking dare you to have the courage of your convictions. If I'm reading you correctly, bench Brock, play Darnold. I don't think you will. I would because I'm crazy. Steven Draper says Lance going to Vicks. Huff been firing too slow. Hufanga is not having an all-pro year. Dale, Shanahan has 15 plays of which 5 worked, then nothing. Sean S., your father once said Banana Hands isn't a good head coach because he makes poor decisions. That's the job of a head coach. Don't tell me about his offense. Theo Walker says, Grant, my G, you always be the truth. You told us about Brock Purdy at camp. I was at the game. Kirk Cousins will be a Niner in 2024. Can I just say, Brock Purdy threw these picks in camp. I reported it. Everyone else that was there said it was a non-issue. And even went so far as to ridicule me for making it an issue. Man, it's an issue. And I didn't say nothing. I was just like, all right, okay. Take your victory lap. I'll be professional. Keep my mouth shut. But this is going to pop up because things always do. And when it happens, I'm going to gloat. Sorry, I shouldn't gloat. Gloating's the wrong word. It's not that I want Brock to fail. It's that I resented all those journalists that made fun of me. It's more of a meta conversation. But I actually don't care that much about people agreeing with me or disagree with me. It doesn't matter. Words of Wisdom says Niners are Tom Petty of the NFL, free falling. He's a good girl. Crazy about Elvis. Good song. 49ers fan 03 says, where the hell is Jordan Mason? Not allowed to play. If you average more than 5 yards a carry, you're too good. You're not allowed to play. Tax Breaks says, in regards to Lance versus Purdy, in regrets. Kyle. Greenlaw, give me my unsportsmanlike flag. Brother Bob says, Iglet, please call out PP for saying Purdy Herbert. I love Larry. He's got to own that one, baby. We said it a few days ago. I love Larry, man. But, man, he was flying a little too close to the sun on that one. Back down to earth, Larry. Back down to earth. Better than Herbert. Okay. If the Niners called up the Chargers tonight and said, we got a deal for you, baby. We got a deal for you, baby. We will trade you Brock, the real deal Purdy, for Justin Herbert. What do you say? You think the Chargers are going to say yes to that? You think so? BP needs to carry the defense on bad days. He can't, says Woodrow Star. Yeah, but he's still better than. I'm not going to make fun of Larry. I love Larry. The pastor SSB says get rid of Wilkes, trade for Patrick Surtain, give Brock a chance after the bye week. Kyle calls better games the second half of the season. If he could make Jimmy look good, then Brock can look great. We'll see. We'll see. Railgar5 says advice or adjustments to try and reduce penalties. Play better. I don't know, man. Geo Dude says the fact that Darnold is the only option is wild. Yeah, wouldn't you feel better if they had that guy, Trey Lance? But they don't. All right. With 3 straight losses, the Niners are now 5-3, while the Seahawks are 5-2. They came back and beat the Browns today. The Niners lost to the Browns, and now the Seahawks are in first place in the NFC West. And is that a fluke? Or are the Seahawks better than the Niners? Before the season started, you may remember, I picked the Seahawks to win the NFC West. Not because I'm a huge Geno Smith fan. I don't think the Seahawks are going to the Super Bowl. I just felt there was something fraudulent about the 49ers. Whether it's Kyle, whether it's Wilkes, whether it's Purdy, it just feels like a house of cards. They were convincing themselves that Brock was going to be this super quarterback. Well, now he's coming back down to earth, and what do you got left? At least Geno's a freaking consistent veteran who's decent. Purdy, some games it's like, yeah, man, you're the MVP candidate. Some games it's like, man, you need to get benched now. So the Niners, they started off hot, and you're thinking they're going to get that number 1 seed, cruise through the playoffs, win the Super Bowl. Now it's like, man, if they make it to the playoffs, they might have to go all the way on the road. And they still have a lot of long road trips coming up. A lot of them. Jacksonville cross country, Washington cross country, Philly cross country. I don't know, man. This season's getting away from them. Someone said that they're going to be sellers of the deadline, not buyers. I don't know about that. But maybe they should be. What a come down from the 49ers. 3 weeks ago, they were that team. Now, 3 losses in a row, and you're second place in the NFC West behind the Seahawks. And all of a sudden, Brock Purdy, who looked like the best quarterback in the division 3 weeks ago, isn't even looking like the best quarterback on his team. Would you really take Brock Purdy over Geno Smith today? I wouldn't. So they better figure this out. They better really stew on this loss, like George Kittle said. Otherwise, they're going to lose to the Jaguars after the bye week. That's a decent team. The Niners right now do nothing well. They don't pass well. They don't run well. They don't stop the run. Their special teams was good tonight. Give Jake Moody credit. Jake Moody didn't miss a field goal. Give him credit. Does anyone care that Christian McCaffrey has 17 consecutive games with a touchdown? I, for one, don't. It's a great accomplishment for him, but who cares? You lost 3 games in a row. That's barely a footnote. I mean, that's big for your career. It means nothing for this team. So that's why I didn't talk about it. What matters for this team is that they're second place in the NFC West. Somehow, some way. Wild Wabbit says, looking forward to you and Larry discussing Brock. Me too. Vinyl Work says, maybe the Cowboy will send Trey Lance back to SF for 2 firsts. Could. You practice how you play. That's what I always thought. There's no way. What was happening? Okay, so he threw like 38 interceptions in training camp, and people were like, he's just learning. He's testing the limits of his capabilities. No. He's playing. He's practicing like how he plays. He's going against a great defense. Well, what used to be a great defense. Now, he plays like this every week, man. It was always, you can only hide your true identity, your true self for so long in life and in football. That's what I like about football, man. You get exposed. who you really are, your true character, gets exposed. And then you got to deal with it. Can you improve or do you shrink when you've been exposed? Brock Purdy is shrinking. He's like Mike TV from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He's like this big. You can put him in your pocket, in your front pocket. Got to play Sam Darnold. Mike TV. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says Cincinnati NFC West champs swept whole division. It's true. They've won 3 straight games against the NFC West, right? B Cruising 302 says it's time to bring in the next Steve Young. I think it is, man. You can't call that dude the next Steve Young and not bring him in at this point. Because I'll tell you, Brock for sure ain't the next Joe Montana. 12 places, 2 games, 4 picks. What do you, WDF Brock, a.k.a. I see ghost to chill deal. Francis the Mute says, my man GC in rare form. Love it. Thank you. Greenlaw, give me my unsportsmanlike flag, brother. Bob says, PP double down on dumbness tonight and again, said Purdy Herbert. I really don't get it. What am I missing? Make it make sense. Eaglet, extend Kyle again. I mean, doubling down is a hell of a drug, right? 808 says, ask why the end can't set the edges and why do they rush so far upfield, leaving huge lanes to run through? We need Jimmy back to stop the run. It's true. TNK Hunting Gear says, Trey wasn't the answer, folks. Brock may not be the answer either. The answer may be on another NFL team or in college ball still. And let me tell you something. You know who won't find the answer to the quarterback position? Kyle Shanahan. Jeff Caravella says, does Surtain really make this D better? Truly. Is there an O-line player we can grab? Yes. Surtain's great. WG says, how many times is Purdy going to scramble to the sidelines and throw back to the middle? He should have even more picks. He plays a reckless style of football. I don't know who he thinks he is, but it seems like he bought his own hype and now he has to like come to grips with the fact that he's not who he thought he was. He's still a Mr. Irrelevant. And he played like it today. Sorry. Jamila 13 says Larry Brock's dirty Kruger. Okay. Larry, sorry about that, man. Good luck. I know you got a lot to defend tonight. I'll be on with Larry tomorrow. I'll be on with Ryan tomorrow. My dad on Tuesday. It's a bye week, but I'm not taking the week off. I'm working. Thanks for watching. I'm going home. Have a good night. Remember, you didn't lose. The Niners lost. And that's important to remember.